Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show. We will do some announcements and a recap, and then dive right into today's action. But before we do any of that, Nick, could you please kick off some player introductions?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nick. I play Embers of White Ash with the Baxi Monk.
I am Kay. I played Lady Elwyn Amelos, the Elvish Druid.
Hello, I'm Melissa, and I play Tuppence, who is a pixie bard.
Hi, I'm Zach, and I play Rook, who is a changeling artificer.
And so, those announcements I mentioned, we premiere our episodes every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items, as well as a custom pixie lineage, which Melissa is kindly playing. So be aware of that as you're watching. Our character portraits, which you'll see all over our layout, including on the info cards, were drawn by an artist named Krista Porter, who goes by @KristaPorter with 2 R's on the end on Twitter. If you need a refresher of everything that's going on in the campaign, we have a campaign wiki at World Anvil. You can also check the video description for links and information to everything I just mentioned and more, including some links to Stop Asian Hate and Black Lives Matter resources. You can finally follow us on Twitter at Antiheroes Anon. And other than that, we just hope you enjoy the show, share it with your friends, and come back to watch some more. So that's announcements out of the way. And with that, let's go ahead and roll the intro video. Previously on Antiheroes Anonymous, the Silver Seekers have been investigating a plot by the Dragontooth Brotherhood to steal a clutch of dragon eggs from a caravan in a few days' time. A journal found in one of their hideouts has laid the whole plan bare, including the date and time of the attack. They intend to assassinate Governor Nayassa if she interferes with the plot, which Nayassa now knows after Tuppence freed her spy on the inside of the Brotherhood. The morning after brought with it a messenger drake carrying a summons to Nyassa's court. Once again, the Silver Seekers find themselves involved in the plot, whether they like it or not. And so we are going to pick up right where we left off last week. A messenger drake had knocked on your window at the mill house to awaken the group of you. Elwyn was the first to leap to the window and received the message. She pulled a writ from a tube on the creature's back, which the message had asked the group of you to bring to Harbor Watch Citadel. But the message had said that you were to see Nayassa in the afternoon. It didn't really specify a specific time, but it said afternoon. So the morning is yours, and I would like to turn things over to you. What would you like to do?
I wake everyone up.
Okay.
I think I'll go. Wait, Tuppence went to sleep first, so I might wake Tuppence up first.
Coffee!
Like, Tuppence, we got a message from the governor.
Big deal. Coffee!
Nah, I thought you might say that.
You
Be right
hear
back.
you hear a knock on your door, the room door.
My, we're getting lots of visitors this morning. I'll go open it.
Nora is standing there with a tray of coffee and a few snacks, and she just says, "You guys had a late night, and Well, I just thought you might want this in the room for today. Anyways, enjoy. And she like hands it over to Elwyn.
Take it. I'll take it.
I love
Thanks,
you,
Nora.
Nora.
You have no idea
love
how
you
much
too,
of a
Tuppence.
lifesaver you are.
You're the best.
It's nice to hear it sometimes. I appreciate your appreciation. Enjoy. Hope to see you downstairs when you're good and awake. And she just hands
Thank
over
you.
the tray.
Yep. I'll take it and bring it in and put it on the kind of move some of Rook's stuff out of the way so I can put the tray on the table.
Whoa, we're so spoiled. What a way to start the day.
I will miss
Doesn't take
when
much
we,
to please you.
I will miss this when we move away and don't have a servant in our keep.
Well, who knows if we do well enough for ourselves, maybe a servant comes with it. Something we can invest in.
Mhm.
Certainly people out there who could use some coin.
Or maybe we could persuade a couple of people here to come with us.
Look,
That's worth
it looks
thinking
like
about.
you have someone specific in mind.
Well, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'll just keep it boiling in the back of my head. We'll see how things turn out.
All right. Columbus, we got a message from the governor this morning.
Oh, what did she want
Yeah.
with us?
Well, she wants us to come and meet her this afternoon.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, I reckon she'll probably want our help again. Well, not again, but you know what I mean.
Maybe
Rook
she wants to
is-
give us a medal.
Is that all right with you, Rook?
Rook's still sleeping.
Yeah, I
Embers walks over and like shakes Rook up. Like, Rook,
Oh,
Rook,
what?
business
Huh?
to discuss. Things are happening.
I
you
immediately
kinda-
hand him a cup of coffee.
He like tries to like wave his hand like you guys take care of it, and then he like touches the coffee. He's like, oh, coffee. And then so he sits up and he like rubs his eyes, and starts like grooming his hair a little bit. And okay, what's going on?
Well, we had a messenger drink this morning come by with a writ from the governor. She wants to see us this afternoon. I reckon she's going to ask us for our help with this attack that's coming the next day or two.
I know that you had said that you didn't want to do anything unless Torin asked us, but what do you think about the governor asking us?
That's good enough for me. I think that's enough of a reason to at least try and. I mean, we should meet her.
Wonder if she's willing to pay us. Do you think?
I would
Oh,
expect as much.
I would assume so. I don't think that she would be asking us just out of the kindness of our hearts to help out. Not a matter of this much importance.
With the government types, you never know, right?
I suppose.
You might say it's our civic duty to rid the streets of these vermin.
Yeah, but none
Well-
of us are from here.
That's true.
That would be our argument, right?
I don't think she has anything on us to force us to do this without a little bit of compensation.
I agree.
Hey, Tuppence, can you use that mage hand thingy to hand me the Baileys? I don't have that.
Already? Fine.
Just a little bit. I'll just a little bit. It's fine. It's good for you in the morning.
I think that she probably owes us a little bit anyway for rescuing her little kobold too.
That's true.
Probably wants to thank us in person for that.
Yeah, I probably should have talked to her a little bit longer, but I was so worried about the guards waking up. But she was sure glad to get out of there. I'm glad we freed her.
What do you think about these people? The Dragontooth Brotherhood? They seem like real bad news. And we haven't had much luck. I mean, we managed to get through a scrape with them, but I mean, you all saw what they did to Torin.
So if she wasn't
Oh, I
in the
definitely saw that.
warehouse, I wonder where she is when she's not in the warehouse. Do you have any ideas?
Who?
For who?
Kishona?
Mm-hmm.
Ashura?
Sure.
Ashura?
I mean, I'm sure she's working jobs for that group, like when she ambushed Torin, right? Just in an alleyway.
Well, I'm sure
doing
she
who knows
must have
what.
a safe house somewhere that is secret, somewhere she can stay out of the public eye.
Rook, did the plans that you read, did they say who was in charge of the strike on the governor?
They did. So the way that it sounded like the two key figures leading both parts of this plan were Smolder and Kashura. And Kashura was going to lead the caravan strike,
Yeah.
while Smolder was going to stay behind in the city and deal with Nayassa if she tried to interfere with their plan.
Okay. I knew I remembered about Kushura, but I couldn't quite remember about if Smolder had been involved.
Yes. Am I remembering correctly that the dragon's breath was stolen to deal with the governor because the governor's so strong? Or
Um,
it could
that-
potentially be one in each location.
Yeah,
don't
it
know
could
for
potentially
sure.
be one in each location. You don't know for sure, but your information about the governor, or initially, and her involvement initially came from Molo, and he had overheard a conversation about them needing to steal a powerful weapon because the governor was involved somehow, and so that's the connection that you
Yeah,
would know
okay.
about.
I'm just gonna put it out there and say I'm a little worried for us if we get involved in this. And I want to help, and if the governor asks us to help, I think we should, but we have to be more careful.
I agree. We're dealing with some very dangerous entities right now.
And we've had some very close calls in the last couple days.
Yeah.
All of us.
Kind of goes back to what I was talking to Embers about last night, where, I mean, I'm worried about us. I think that, you know, what I was saying earlier is that I think the wardens should be the primary to deal with this threat, because it is kind of, it is dangerous, and it is like, you know, but if the city wants help from us, it is our choice to decide. So
Do you think there's a way to get out of it without fighting?
I mean, we can give them all the information that we have, and that would be, you know.
No, I mean for us to help and to stop the conflict
to
without
diffuse
it
it?
coming to.
Well, I think Rook will kind of get up off the bed and grab the notebook that's on the table and flip it open, and then he says, with that, I think we needed to decipher a little bit more of this, and maybe there's some more to it, some bargaining chips or something.
Well, we know the where and the when, but it sure would help if we had those other two dragon breaths spears.
For sure.
Well, I
Then
might be able to help us find them.
If we were in possession of those, I think we would all feel a lot more comfortable about lending aid.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of meditating this morning, thinking about ways to track those down, and I might have figured something out. They would have to be close, maybe within 1,000 feet or so, but I might be able to sense them. So if we can get an idea of kind of where to look, I can reach out with my magic and try to locate them that way.
Oh my gosh, you're
Okay.
awesome.
You could sort
I've never tried it before, but in theory, it should work.
Exciting!
Well, I mean, that's a really good idea, because
If we want to track them down before the planned event. And we don't even know if the planned event is going to happen on schedule now that we've messed up their plans this far.
well, I think I would be a little surprised if they tried something out of sequence. And so I think we can expect that it's going to happen after they release the rest of the cage monsters, if there's any more to be released, if there's another warehouse or something. So if the wardens aren't able to uncover it, or, you know, whatever, then we should be able to expect the attack on the well, then again, the caravans are on schedule, so unless somehow Nayassa can reroute it, or I mean, maybe there's no conflict going to happen at all,
That's
right?
true. Well, the caravan's following a schedule, but the attack could happen in a different place if they decide to do it earlier.
Or they just have it take shelter somewhere in a fortification. Because I'm guessing they're going to try and attack it when it's on the road or something. I don't know if we
Right.
had that
At the
information or not.
we did.
There's like a
Yeah.
checkpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is. Let me get the exact information. It's going to happen about halfway between Horizon Shroud and a Warden checkpoint along
That's
the
right.
road, a day's travel north of the city. So it'll be happening between the checkpoint and Horizon Shroud on the road, basically.
Yeah, so I mean, if they sent out a messenger now in some fashion, maybe they can just remove or diffuse it altogether by having them sit and wait somewhere safe.
Well, it's something to talk to the governor about anyway.
Yeah, that's
We
a
can
good
see
point.
what's within her power to do.
But I was also going to say that using that magic that you described would be nice because if they do stay on schedule, if everything just keeps going along that way, then we have time. How many times can you do it? Can you just
Well,
And we
it's a
have
little
2
bit
days.
it's a little bit tough, but I can do it maybe twice a day.
okay?
And the duration is about maybe 10 minutes if I'm concentrating.
So what we have you
So we'd
do,
have to narrow down the search area, but
so you cast the spell and then ride on Embers because she's really fast, and then you can cover a lot of distance and just be like a radar.
It is quite a large city. So, I mean, there's a chance that could work, but there's also a chance that you might turn up nothing if you're just kind of going
I mean,
about
it would
randomly.
really help if we could narrow the search area a little bit. I
Yeah,
wonder if
I agree.
Molo knows anything about the Brotherhood hideouts or places to stash stuff, or
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he was a pretty, low ranking, if any,
Yeah, it's true. He
contributor.
may not know anything, but maybe he knows someone who knows something.
And also check with Malt to see if he heard anything more overnight after we went up.
That's true too.
If we knew who was the messenger, maybe we could pretend to be the messenger and send false information.
What do you mean?
For the
What do you mean? What messenger?
to the point where there's got to be some people stationed already where they're going to attack, right? If we could find out who the messenger was, maybe we could pretend to be them or influence them somehow into sending false information.
Or intercept the messenger in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Change the message.
I'm trying to think of other ways instead of fighting.
That's a good idea too. Something that the governor might be able to help out with. She might have more people.
Maybe we could borrow her spy again. What's her name? Turka?
Turka, yes.
Good memory.
I'm going to do two things as well while we're having this conversation. One is I look at the ceiling, instinctively looking for Malt to see if he's listening. The other thing is I want to reach into my satchel and look through or whatever we use to carry that hoard.
Yeah.
And actually look through that because we never actually looked through it. Maybe there's something there that we missed.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, you're still in your room, right? You're not in the tap room, so I don't think you see Malt anywhere.
Yeah,
we're
it's
still in our
just like reflex. Like
he doesn't
we're talking
have
about something
like
important. Where is he?
holes in the walls,
Yeah.
that he can crawl through to overhear people in their rooms. As far as you know, anyways.
See, he's onto us.
So you don't see Malt, but yeah, if you are kind of like during this conversation pulling out and cataloging the treasure that you gained from the snake's hoard, there's a ton of copper pieces. So you're going to want to write down all of this. There's 870 copper pieces.
Okay.
403 silver pieces.
Okay.
88 gold pieces,
Okay.
a small gold bracelet, a small like hand mirror in a painted wooden frame, a pair of engraved bone dice, some sort of bottle containing a greenish looking potion.
Okay, bottle with greenish. Okay.
A like a leather tube, very similar to the one that was kind of on the Drake's back this morning, that has kind of a top that seems to pop open. Oh shoot, no, it's not a leather tube. It's like a sleek metal tube, actually. Yeah, and then the case, and that was everything that was in the hoard.
The case?
Yeah, which you've already returned to Squall.
Yeah,
The
okay.
Dragon's Breath case.
Well, I'll pop the metal tube open and see what's inside that.
There's a furled up piece of paper in there, or parchment.
What's it say? Unfurl.
It's got all kinds of arcane scribbles on it. It seems to be a spell scroll of some kind.
Okay.
Let me see if this is something that is on your spell list,
Sure.
because then I think you would recognize it if so. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's on the artificer list. But yeah, you could show it to your other spellcaster
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah,
What is that,
so
Rook?
yeah, so
Can I
I think he like kind of does, he like holds it and like turns it around and kind of tries to read it, and he's like scratches his head and he just kind of like furls it back up and like hands it to whoever wants to look at it as well while we're chatting.
Embers, do you want to look at it first?
Oh, I don't know anything about magic.
Okay, I'll open it.
Okay. You kind of roll it out, and you have to kind of like stand on it because it's so big.
I'll
it's
I'll like hold it open.
Yeah. Okay. Rook
And
holds it
then she
open.
can like fly away and get a better view.
It is a spell. You recognize it when you start to read it. It is not a spell that you're capable of casting at this point on your own, but with the help of this scroll, you think you could. It's a locate creature spell,
Ooh.
which, Kay, for your reference, is also on the druid list, so you could also.
I know. I was like, hey, that's one of my spells. I almost took that
Sweet.
spell.
Well, it's a 4th level spell, so
Okay.
Oh yeah.
it's a bit beyond.
Wait, what
the
was it?
druid at the moment.
Locate. I had one other locate thing that I could take right now, though. I can't
Object
remember.
or plants and
Oh,
animals.
plants and animals. That's what it was. Yeah.
Let's see. Does anyone have detect magic? I might have it. Let me see. I do. Okay, so while they're looking at the spell scroll and while we're having the conversation, I'm also gonna ritual cast detect magic
Mm-hmm.
and then look at the bracelet and the other items and the wood dice and stuff.
They don't radiate any magic.
Okay.
Nothing in here except for the scroll and the potion radiates any magic.
Okay.
But the items in there do look like they would fetch a decent price. I'll tell you just so I don't have to keep track of it myself. Each of those items, the bracelet, the mirror, and the dice, each of those is worth about 25 gold pieces.
Dang. I was hoping I would find a gem worth 100 gold pieces.
You might have enough money here. that you
Yeah,
could
but this
purchase
is
such a thing.
everybody's money. So okay.
Each or together, those were worth 25 gold.
Each one was worth 25.
Ooh,
So let's see,
nice.
there's 1, 2, 3 of them, so 75 total between the 3.
Can I
items.
take a look at the potion, see if I can identify it just by checking it out?
Yeah, I think anyone can really identify potions. You just kind of have to like examine it a little bit, give it a little taste. Yeah, it's a potion of poison resistance.
Pour some in your coffee.
Well, that might come in handy.
Well, let's hope we don't need it.
Owen, do you want to hold this? spell scroll.
All right. I can do that.
Now you're spelling.
Spellwind.
Oh, jeez. What a nice name.
I suppose it's better than the alternative.
Yep. So that's everything that you have in the horde.
Well, I don't think this is going to give us any answers as Rook finishes looking through it, passing things around.
Well, it sounds to me like we had a number of things on our list, things that we wanted to do, people we wanted to talk with before our meeting today. Rook, why don't you stay here and see what you can figure out from that journal? And Tuppence, you can go talk to Malt. And Embers, maybe you'll come with me to go talk to Molo, unless you had something else you wanted to do.
Pressing.
I think Molo likes you quite a bit, so it'll help if you're with me, even if I'm the one doing the talking.
Ember's like cocks her head to the side. Mother likes me.
Oh yeah, Molo mentioned to me that he wants to be more like you, Embers. Like in
Aw,
the
that's so
sense
Embers
of
looks like really alarmed
like he
at
wants.
this.
Well, it's a compliment. He thinks that you're cool and what's the word he used? Not intimidating. It was
Strong. I think he said strong and intimidating, or
Yeah,
at least
Scary
that
in a
was
cool
the-
way.
Yeah,
scary in a cool way. So like Rick says, like you're like strong and kind of imposing sometimes, and he likes that, and he wants to, you know, he said that he might observe you a little bit to try and mimic those habits, or
Mother thinks I'm cool.
yeah, you are
You
cool.
cool. He's got good taste.
All right, let's go talk to Molo then.
We all think you're cool, Embers.
Rocka thinks you're cool too.
Mm-hmm. All right, so break. Make sure you all eat some breakfast.
Oh,
Most
right.
important meal of the day.
Embers
Nom,
like
nom,
quickly
nom.
like fixes herself with coffee milk.
Must be
Should I
the
get you a
perfect thing.
bowl?
There were some like small pastry bread things on the tray as well, so you could have been snacking on
Oh
those.
my gosh, Nora is the
Oh.
best. Look at this stuff.
I mean, it occurs to you, you don't know when Nora sleeps because she seems to be awake when you guys all go to bed and then awake before you to get things ready.
Hmm.
So,
Lots of power naps.
yeah, maybe. During the day,
Hot
she
and
always seems to be
coffee.
running the bar, so who knows?
Who knows? All right, break. Embers and I will go downstairs.
Okay.
With Tuppence, I suppose.
Who wants to have their conversation first or do their thing?
Either way. Go ahead,
Okay.
guys.
Let's do Molo. Why not?
Okay.
It's still rather early in the morning. So you go downstairs and Tess is up and helping Nora out around the the tavern, getting things all set up for the morning. But it doesn't look like Molo is up yet. So he actually might still be back in the room.
Good morning, Tess. How's it going?
She looks up at you with kind of a cold look and just says,
Oh, yeah.
"Okay, I guess."
Hey, we were wondering if Molo's awake yet.
He sleeps late sometimes.
All right. Do you think he'd mind if I kind of jerk my thumb over my shoulder toward the stairs?
She just kind of like shrugs at you. She's not making eye contact through all of this. She just shrugs and then continues her work.
I look at Embers. I think she's still angry at me.
Have you apologized?
Now that you mention it, I don't think I did.
Pastor Brandyman taught me that was an important step in making amends.
I mean, I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but I'll give it a go. Do you want to go wake up Molo then?
All right.
I'll wait down here for you.
Ember's heads upstairs.
Okay. I'll go over to the bar. I mean, I assume that's where Tess was working.
She was
she not?
probably
Is she?
actually more like sweeping up under tables and things like that, getting the fire going for the morning, that sort of thing.
Okay. I will is there an extra broom?
Yeah, because Molo uses one sometimes
Yeah.
too. So
I'll
there's
grab a
second
broom and
one in the
start
corner.
I'll grab another broom and start helping her. Be like, listen,
The broom is
I-
actually it's sized for a small creature, so it's not quite.
I mean, I'm very small though. I'm only like
Yeah.
5'5", I think.
You're still bigger than Tess.
I'm
though,
bigger
so-
than her,
That's
but I'm
not
small.
small.
5'4".
5'3".
5'4".
5'4" is not small.
5'4". I'm small compared to like most of the monsters in this group. Okay. Tuppence not included. Sorry.
Sir?
Fine. I will
I mean, you can
shape
still
water.
use it. It's just like
I will shape water to create an ice handle to extend the handle so it's a little bit
Cool.
longer and more comfortable to use. Then I will walk over, start sweeping near Tess, helping. And I'm used to playing Harmony small. That's what it is. My little small character.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway. And I will start sweeping and I will just say, listen, Tess, I owe you an apology.
just keep sweeping, not really looking at you yet.
It wasn't fair of me to trick your mind like that. It was. I'm not going to even try to make excuses. It wasn't fair, and I apologize.
I didn't like it. Not being in control of me.
I can imagine. I'm sorry. I hope that we can move past this, and I hope you know that I do think that you are a very good girl, Tess. And I hope we can be friends.
She stops sweeping for a second and looks at you, actually making eye contact now, and says, I didn't like it, but you did help my friend.
That's all I want to do is help, Tess. I don't want to hurt anybody. And I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. I'd never done that to anyone before, and I wasn't sure what would happen.
She thinks for a second and then says, I know you and your friends are nice people. I know you had good intentions. And you got Molo away from the Brotherhood. So, and she goes back to sweeping. But it seems like her demeanor towards you thaws a little bit.
I will just continue to help her sweep. And just in companionable silence, I can speak. No. Just wait for Embers and Molo to come downstairs.
Yeah, you sweep together for a little bit, and finally, after a few minutes, she just says, kind of really quietly, to the point where like you're not actually sure you heard her say it, but she just says, "Thank you," and keep sweeping.
I'll just be humming to myself now, happily, as I sweep.
Yeah. Embers goes upstairs. You know which room Nora and Malt and Tess and Molo are all sharing at the moment. It's the one at the far end of the hallway, actually across from your room.
No wonder Nora never gets any sleep.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, you can knock on that door.
Yeah, I'll knock a little bit.
Is it like a soft knock or is it a loud knock?
It's like a soft knock, and Ember's like characteristically soft says, "Hello, hello."
There's no response, but as you listen closely to the door, you can hear the sound of snoring from within.
All right. Ambrose will like try real hard to raise her voice. Molo.
Yeah, the snoring seems to stop. And you hear shuffling of blankets, and then like a.
I think Ambrose like starts to shout, Molo, get your ass out of that bed. We need you. Get out of here right now.
Okay, yeah. When you start to get actually loud, you hear a thud, like a heavy thud, and then the sound of like intentionally heavy kind of stomping footfalls coming towards the door, and the door kind of flies open, and there's Molo, and he's just got a blanket kind of draped over his head and like enshrouding his body so that just his snout and his eyes are visible out of this little blanket cocoon, and he says, what is it? It's so early in the morning.
Sorry, I shouldn't have lost my temper at you, Molo.
It's you, Ambrose. I didn't realize. It's okay. What is it? What do you need?
Ellen wanted to talk to you. Do you mind coming with me downstairs?
He kind of looks longingly back towards his bed, and now that you can see in the room, there's a big bed in one of the corners, which is all nicely made up, and then there's, well, I guess Malt doesn't sleep in here because he has his own cubby. But there's like two smaller beds next to each other in one of the other corners of the room. One is kind of made poorly, and then the other one is just a mess of basically just the sheets now since Molo has pulled off the main blanket. He looks longingly back at his bed and then says, "Oh, fine." And he kind of follows you out of the room.
All right, I'll go rejoin Ellen.
So yeah, the two of you come down and see Elwyn
Yeah, sweeping.
sweeping with Tess. Molo comes over to Elwyn, kind of wrapped in this blanket. So, what is it? Amber said you
Oh.
wanted to talk to me?
Yeah, well, we'd both like to talk to you. Sorry for waking you up. Do you need some coffee or some water or something?
Oh no, I'm awake. Amber's saw to that. I'm good.
Well, great. Let's and I kind of go put the broom back where I found it with the ice still on it, just like
Slowly melting.
leaving it there, and then I gesture to our table. Let's have a seat.
Yep. He goes over and sits next to you.
I'll sit down, and well, Molo, I realize that you probably don't want to talk about the Dragontooth Brotherhood any more than you already have, but I just wanted to know if there was any other information you could give us.
We're looking for hideouts, safe houses, that kind of thing.
Places where they might stash things, hide things from the wardens or other people, or places where they might go to be safe themselves.
Well, I don't know where all of them are, but I know they had a bunch of warehouses. That's usually how us kobolds get involved, is because a lot of us work in the warehouses, and so they kind of recruit from there. They've got a number of warehouses. I don't really know though. They never really told me.
Would those warehouses all be in the same area of the city, or are they dotted around town?
He kind of shrugs.
Hmm.
I know they do some well, shipping and exporting and importing sometimes, so maybe they'd have some stuff in the docks
In the
ward of the
docks.
city.
Was there
he
one that you
goes,
worked at, Molo?
Oh no, not really. I just more of a friend of a friend type situation. It was, they found out that I had a place I could, put a cage in the city, and so they said, "Hey, can you put this in there, and it'll contribute to the rise of the dragons?" And that sounded great, so I did it.
I see. So this was your first time working with them.
Well, I've done a few little things, but um, yeah, not much. I mean, the Dragontooth Brotherhood, they don't usually do this sort of thing, as far as I know.
Yeah, we've heard that before too. Do you know if there's any way to recognize these warehouses, like they have a certain symbol on them or
Do they all have that owlbear with the worm?
no, the same graffiti?
He kind of tilts his head. Owlbear? He doesn't
I
seem to know
guess
anything
not.
about the owlbear graffiti. No, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I just don't know anything about um the way that they operate.
Well, that's all right, Molo. You've been very helpful already.
Hmm. So we might start at the warehouse we saw yesterday and spread out from there. I can't think of a better way to do it.
Or maybe we find some more kobolds to interrogate and see if we can find some that work at some of these places.
Mhm.
Especially that one from the highest bit, the one that saw Kshura that night.
You know,
She recognized her, so she might know
talking
more.
of kobolds who worked there, maybe we should just wait, because the kobold who works there, who would know the most, is that
You're
spy.
right. You're right. Yeah, if we tell the governor our plan, she might be able to. She might have some more insight too.
Mhm.
Good idea. All right, Molo. Well, thank you. Sorry again for getting you out of bed. That's all we needed from you.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll go take a nap then. And then he kind of looks over in Nora's direction, and she gives him kind of a sharp look, and he says, "Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's time to go."
See you later, Molo.
He and takes his blanket and heads off towards the kitchens.
Embers watches him go and says, "You know, if I sewed broom fibers into the hem of that blanket, he could sweep as he walked."
Sounds pretty ingenious.
Why has
Do you
no
think
one
it
ever
would make
thought of
him look
this?
tougher? Might look a little ridiculous, though. I'm not sure that's what he wants.
Embers like shrugs and he's a kobold.
Yeah, doesn't he want to look tough like you?
Hmm. It seemed like he really liked the hood thing they had going on.
It was very cute.
Well, don't tell him that.
I won't. Shall we go back upstairs and see how Rook's doing?
All right.
Okay.
And then Tuppence was going to go talk to Malt, right?
Right.
So we'll deal with her next, and then we'll do Rook. You find Malt kind of munching on some leftover fish from last night, just outside of his little hideout up in the rafters.
Good morning, Malt.
Good morning, Tuppence.
How'd you sleep?
Oh, not too bad. Did you have any more weird dreams last night?
No, not last night. We had a early morning visitor, but today looks like it's going to be a really super busy day. So I was just wondering if you had an interesting night last night yourself.
I gleaned a few things from some of the patrons of the tavern.
Anything you can let me in on?
Go ahead and would you roll for me? Let's see, how many rumors do I have left? Let's see. Here we go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could you roll a d6? And if you get a 6, we'll just re-roll it.
Okay. I got a 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this one's not really actually useful to you. He says, oddly enough, I overheard a conversation or two about people in the city beginning to spot Dragontooth Brotherhood members brazenly walking in the city. An unusual thing in normal times, but given what we already know, perhaps not surprising.
That's true. They're doing a lot more than walking right now.
It certainly would seem that way.
Okay, well, we have a big day ahead of us. So I guess I'll go finish my coffee, maybe have another extra cup just for good measure, and see what the gang has planned. Wish me luck.
Best of luck to you, Tuppence. I'll be continuing to think about our previous discussion and how to best search for threads to pull on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really love our little intrigues. You're the best.
It's nice to have someone who shares my love of the conversations of others.
Guess what I can do now? I can
raises a little eyebrow ridge.
I can become invisible now. That will help a lot.
That certainly does sound like something that has a number of practical applications.
Is that something you can do yourself?
I don't think he can, but let me take a look.
He hasn't, but he's been missing out apparently.
Just double check. I don't think that is in his repertoire. He does have a few spells. Oh, he does have invisibility actually, but only a certain amount of times per day.
Okay.
He says, it is something that I can do myself and find particularly useful.
Ooh, dynamic duo. Woo. Okay, TTFN.
Good luck, my friend. He kind of waves one of his paws at you. So then Rook was delving back into the journal, right?
Yeah, so he kind of rubs his eyes and yawns and sits back at the table and opens up the notebook again. Starts
Okay.
parsing through it.
As you start to parse through it, you hear a voice in the back of your head that
Of course
says,
I do.
"Do you want some help with that, Vertinor?"
What can I call you?
Is it so important that you have something to call me?
Yes.
Very well. If you must know, my name is Nyadon.
Spell it for me.
Nihidon.
H-I-D-O-N?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I would have not.
Nihidon.
N-I-H-I-D-O-N. Okay.
Well, let me make sure I've got that right. I think that's it.
And he's pronounced it
I almost
Nihidon?
had it. I
Yeah,
did put an
Nihidon.
H in it.
Dang. I was going to do N-I-A. So it's Nihidon?
Yeah, Nihidon.
Nihidon.
But pronounced
Okay.
Nyadon.
And Rook kind of nods affirmingly, even though no one's there to look at him. And he's like, he thinks, okay,
Surely an extra
Nihidon.
set of eyes will be nothing but useful to you.
And Rook kind of thinks for a second, and sure, why not?
Okay. Then yeah, you can roll your. I think it was an intelligence check
Mhm.
before. but roll it at advantage
All right, I'm do guidance.
because
too.
Nihedon is going to be helping you.
Excellent. I needed it because I'm guessing my roll was the 5. What do we got? Intelligence. Hmm. How does a 22 do for us?
22. Let's see. That gets you one more thing that you didn't get previously.
All right.
You find notes in there that are pretty well buried, and also difficult to decipher because they seem like gibberish at first. But Kashura talks about who she reports to, and she mentions people like high ups in the Brotherhood, calling them Horde stewards. Horde stewards. There we go. But when she talks about who she reports to, it's not the Brotherhood. Actually, she reports to two individuals outside of the Brotherhood, who she refers to as the Decayed Death and the Poison of Karnas.
Okay. The decayed death.
Mm-hmm.
Decayed death and the poison.
Of Karnus, Karnus.
Okay, thank you.
And these mentions occur in pretty close proximity to that strange symbol almost every time. The weird third-eyed dragon logo.
I see. So Rook kind of cocks his head a little bit and thinks about that.
So she's working with the Brotherhood, but
Mhm.
not for the Brotherhood, if that makes sense.
It does make
I'm
sense.
sorry, this horde steward term was in regards to what?
That's who leads the Brotherhood.
I see.
It's a group of individuals called the Horde Stewards.
But she's not one and she doesn't report to them.
She's not one and she doesn't report to them. She's
Okay.
working with the Brotherhood, but when she talks about the people she reports to, it's not these Horde Stewards.
Excuse me. Okay. I don't know if I can tell this or not. Is there a way that I can tell if there's I think there's more information to be had here, or is it I just have to keep trying to figure it out? Or
There might be a little bit, but if there is, it's minimal and it'd be really difficult to decipher at this point.
okay, I think I
so
will.
Nayadon says,
Yeah.
there may be more to glean from this journal, but it most likely isn't pertinent to the situation at hand. I think we know everything we need to know about the imminent attack at the very least.
Fair enough. Oh man, I should have used his stats. I should have helped him.
Too bad.
Dang, could I have done that? Is that an option for
Possibly.
when him and I do stuff together?
If he's feeling willing. This time it seemed like he was offering to help you
I
rather
see.
than the other way around.
Okay, oops. All right. From there, how long would it take me to fashion armor?
With all the study you've done into this liquid metal, probably not very long. You have, so let me see. How does your ability work? Artificer?
It's called armor model. Or arcane
Right.
armor, sorry. Arcane armor, and then you can pick an armor model.
Mm-hmm. Armor model is the one I was looking at, because you can change it as part of a short or long rest. So, yeah, you could basically fashion a suit of armor from this liquid metal within an hour. The time it would take to do a short rest.
Okay. I guess with my remaining time, if there's remaining time, I'll start doing that now.
Yep. I think that Elwyn and Embers were going to come back up to the room. Probably Tuppence as well.
Yeah.
So when the group of you come back up, Rook has put the book aside and is tinkering with this jar of metallic liquid, which I think all of you have seen in his possession at this point. And he's basically treating it in various ways that kind of harden it and shape it. And it basically just kind of like gloms into the shape that he wants it to be, and is slowly putting together what looks to be maybe a suit of armor.
What are you doing there?
I'm fashioning myself a little bit of help.
Not a bad idea. I know that we're all eager to avoid combat, but as Tuppence has taught me, that's not always possible or wise.
Wow, you are gonna look some kind of cool wearing that.
And Rook shows like one of the arms that has this, like basically this big gauntlet. And he's like, yeah, next time we do an arm wrestle, I'll use this. And he puts it back
Not
down.
scared.
As Rook starts to put together this armor set, what does it look like? It can look pretty much any way that you want, because the adaptability of this liquid metal is just through the roof.
Yeah.
So it, like, you can put together a suit of full plate, and it doesn't have to be like quite as big and bulky as like a full plate suit would normally be.
So I'd want it to have, well, stats similar to that, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't. It sounds like it can. If it can be, if I can just adjust the stats that way and be, I want it to
It
be
can
this type
basically
of armor.
form into any type of metallic armor.
Okay. So the suit that I'm making right now looks kind of like more like an exoskeleton. And I'm gonna use the infiltrator armor type for this one. And so it's let's see. I haven't really got a good image in my head for this one. I was gonna pick the other one, but I'm like, well, we're probably gonna need this one instead. So then I just kind of like jumped the gun and did that. But yeah, one of the, like, his right hand has like a big like gem-like note, it says on it, that looks like a kind of like a cannon of some kind. Otherwise, yeah, it just kind of looks like a really cool exoskeleton.
Is it kind of like more tightly fit to Rook's form than a suit of armor would normally be?
Yeah, I would think so. And maybe there's like some areas that you can like still see through, like exposed, so it's not like a full, like, you know, like it's not like an Iron Man suit.
However, you can sort of Iron Man on and off a helmet,
Yeah,
if you want, as I think an action.
I think you can do like the whole thing actually.
Oh yeah, actually that's true.
Yeah, you can just it takes an action to just bloop, check it out, you know, on and off.
So once you've
So
got the suit assembled,
so I feel
do you
like
just
he would, like, what he does with this one is he like kind of steps into it. Maybe it's like a little taller, and then like the like chest part kind of folds down over him.
and then it just kind of like
Yeah, and they kind of, yeah,
clicks
the
into place.
pneumatic hissing or whatever, and he's like, oh, this, and he kind of like checks out the arms and kind of moves things around, and
And there's a little bit of a glow around, there's like covers for the boots and things like that. There's a bit of a glow around that area as well, that kind of dims after the armor is donned. And then all of you would notice, I think, also that the armor doesn't clank anywhere near as much as like Torin's armor does. It seems to have these runes on it that kind of, or on and around the plate, that kind of dampen sound around it, it seems.
yeah, and you can see that there's like special care on like the legs to make it like there's more like mechanisms to help like boost his movement speed a little bit too.
Wow. So Rook kind of clicks into this armor.
That's incredible, Rook.
No, Rook's gift was good.
Thank you.
I would ask how you did all this, but I don't think that I would understand the answer.
He like opens his mouth to start to explain, and then he just like closes his mouth. He's like, if you ever want to, I will.
Well, that certainly doesn't look like you got much done on the journal.
Oh yeah, I gave up on that. Just kidding. He kind of smiles, and then he gives them the piece of information they got. It says, "Yeah, I was really surprised to learn that she doesn't work for the Brotherhood. Like she's just kind of like a mercenary, I guess, or just from a different group."
Yeah,
A
it was
different group who also
unclear.
wants dragon eggs. Or wants the
Yeah.
Brotherhood to have them
I'm
for
getting a
whatever
little more
reason.
worried about this whenever we uncover more information.
Name
There's
still
something,
sounds good.
yeah, there's something bigger going on than just a heist.
Yeah.
Oh no, not more snakes.
Hopefully not.
There's like an awkward pause where we all look at each other like, well, she is a UNT.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect?
Snakes are their whole deal.
All right. Is it about time for us to go meet with the governor yet? Or
There wasn't a time
this point?
specified specifically, but yeah, I mean, it's getting on to late morning, so it will soon be early afternoon, and presumably time is of the essence with this topic. So
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I'd
we
say
should
you can
sooner
head out
is-
whenever you like.
Yeah, as soon as we're all ready to go, we should go.
I'm ready.
Me too.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. You then set out from the mill house and begin making your way across the city. You pretty much have to cross the entire city, so it is a bit of a hike.
Can I keep my eyes peeled for just warehouses? Just
Sure.
noting location of warehouses as we go, if there are any.
Yeah, you don't really start to see any warehouses until you get to like the southern maybe quarter of the city. At that point, you start to see a lot of warehouses, though, and you realize that sort of the area from basically from the docks up to the section of the city that contains the Platinum Parish, which is the big temple to Bahamut. Most of that district of the city is like warehouses and storage facilities and places like that. There's a lot of trade that comes in and out of Port Horizon Shroud, and so there's a huge need for places to store things.
Okay, good to know.
So if you were looking to search that section of the city, it would definitely take you quite a while because it is almost a good quarter of the city is like warehouses and things.
But at least we've narrowed it down to a quarter of the city.
Yes.
But you know what, Elwyn? I just remembered. Didn't you make a friend down at the docks? Wouldn't she know about warehouses? Wasn't her name Edith?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't reckon she'd know anything about warehouses owned by a specific group of people, especially if that specific group of people is trying to work under the table.
Maybe she knows something she doesn't know she knows.
This is true. And she was reporting a smolder, if I...
She was basically the person in charge of the dock where Smolder's ship was
Right.
unloading.
He wasn't her boss.
You mean Scorch?
Don't confuse me like that, Zach. I'm already having enough trouble as it is with this name.
His face for a moment was like, was it Scorch?
No, it's Smolder.
I don't know.
Oh no.
So that's the
Well,
viewers.
If we run out of other leads, she's definitely someone we could visit. Although I don't reckon she'd be happy to see my face again after what I did.
You think that she still has a job?
Yeah, she may not have a job either, and that would be my fault. Maybe I ought to apologize to her too, huh, Embers?
Well, I just thought, the docks have a lot of warehouses, and we might have had an in with her. That's all, flittering through my head, so to speak.
Well, you know who also might know something about warehouses is Squall,
Yeah,
the people he does trade with. whether or not he knows they're members of the Brotherhood
He did say that he doesn't do business with the Brotherhood.
knowingly.
Yeah, knowingly,
Yeah.
anyways.
Knowingly.
It is possible he's turning a blind eye to something.
Oh, I'm very much betting that he is.
Very interesting, colorful character.
Or that he just doesn't know who the people are. He doesn't ask too many questions, you know. That's the kind of impression I got.
It's
A
possible.
man who doesn't ask many questions isn't going to have much information.
True. Don't ask, don't tell.
That's fair. Anyway,
Plausible deniability and all that.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you pass the Platinum Parish, which is also the same sector of the city that the Brandyman Church is in. And then make your way to the landmark that is Harbor Watch Citadel. It's basically a big walled citadel that is right on the edge of the harbor. And the way that the terrain is laid out, there's basically a sort of rise in elevation right before the harbor. And the citadel is situated like right at the top of that rise of elevation. So from the citadel, you actually have a good view of the city as it kind of sprawls out, as well as all of the ships that come and go from the harbor. So you approach this kind of imposing citadel with stone walls. Certainly a big portcullis out front, plenty of guards. As you get close, you can see that there are there are at least a few wyvern knights that are patrolling the sky. So you can look up and you see these dragon-like creatures flying around, and you can catch the glint of metal armor from their riders. And they seem to be kind of patrolling the skies around the citadel. And as you approach, there's a group of guards. They look kind of better equipped than most of the Imperial Wardens. And instead of the regular heraldry of the Imperial Wardens, they have the sigil of the city itself on their uniforms and things like that. You see a group of them outside the main portcullis. Yeah, do you guys just approach?
Boy, I sure hope we remembered the writ. Who's got it?
I have it. It's right here. I
Okay.
will lead the way with the written hand. Hi, good morning, good afternoon. What time is it? I look up at the sun and then kind of shield my eyes. Like, oh
Yeah.
God, bad idea.
It's nearly noon.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon. How can I help you?
We are the Silver Seekers, and we have been summoned. And I will hand the writ over.
Okay. The guard takes it and kind of looks at the parchment. Well, the seal's been opened. You're not supposed to do that, but let me take a look.
Oh, sorry, I've never gotten one of these before.
It's okay. You'd be surprised to learn how many people actually break the seal. It should be included in the messenger Drake's message, but
You know, it really should.
they can only take so many words. So anyways, let me take a look. The guard kind of inspects the writing on the scroll, looks at the various signatures of approval that are on there, scrolls it back up and says, right, everything seems to be in order. I'll arrange for a few guards to escort you into the keep.
Great.
The guard then goes into, there's kind of like a guardhouse built into the outside of the wall here. They go in and come back out with a messenger drake kind of on the shoulder that then leaps off and flies in the direction of the inside of the citadel. And it's probably only like 5 or 10 more minutes before a group of guards comes out of the citadel. They kind of raise the portcullis for this group to come out, ready to escort you in. Could the group of you make a perception check as well?
Happily.
Oh, that's pretty good.
How did everyone do?
Out of 15.
15?
How's the weather?
It's not super sunny, but it's also like not gray and overcast. You know, it's
So it's sunny.
yeah. You
Not
have
that
to
it matters
admit.
because my first roll was a natural 2. So 7.
Hmm. How about Tuppence
17.
and Rook?
23.
Okay. So everyone but Elwyn. Elwyn, you're just like taking shelter from the sun at the moment.
I mean, I basically looked right at it and then was like, oh God.
Spots everywhere.
Yeah, that would hurt a normal person's eyes, but the three of you notice that these guards at the Citadel are not only better armored, but they also, in addition to swords and things like that, and shields, actually carry firearms, which are kind of a rarity, but they exist within the Empire. Yeah, and a lot of the guards here seem to have them. Definitely, like not among the lower ranking guards, but the various, higher ranking guards that you might see might be carrying one.
Okay.
And you're guided through the Citadel. It's not like extremely well appointed in there or anything like that. There's definitely rooms that you pass that are clearly, meant to be more lavish, like, guest reception areas and things like that. And there's definitely some beautiful tapestries and things on the wall that seem to be depicting various points in history, perhaps. Um, but you're guided pretty quickly past them. If anyone wanted to take a peek at those, you could make a check, but you're shuffled
I
along
mean,
quickly. So
yeah, I'm looking at everything, wide eyes,
okay,
taking it all in.
yeah, roll a perception check.
No longer at disadvantage. Hey, much better. That's a 16.
Rook walks by very unimpressed.
Party pooper.
Yeah, with a 16, you see these tapestries are actually they seem to be presenting like a chronological order of events, and you don't catch all of the various events that they detail, but there's like the history of the city is kind of recorded here. So there, it starts out with basically it depicts a frost giant settlement, and quite a large one at that. Um, and there's imagery of like the frost giants fighting with dragons and these epic battles between these massive creatures. Um, and then at some point, it starts to depict battles between the giants and creatures of more humanoid proportions. Um, and they take over the city, and then it shows them kind of like building up this surrounding area. Um, I'm trying to think of what else it would show. Um, ba-dum. Yeah. Oh, and then at some point, there's another set of tapestries that depicts very clearly the Empire invading and taking over the city from the previous occupants who had overthrown the Frost Giants. Um, and then from there, kind of like the before that it was much less fortified city, and then you see like walls start to be built around the city and things like that, and it becomes this massive trade hub under the Empire's stewardship. And then you find yourselves basically at the door to a large hearing chamber, and you are let in, and you can see there's kind of a round table set up, and there's a few individuals that are seated in there having a conversation already. But as the group of you enter, the guards announce that you're the Silver Seekers, and a black-scaled dragonborn woman at the head of the table stands up to greet you. Let me just see if I have any other description for her. She is wearing armor and weapons clearly displayed. She has a very tall, strong, and imposing build. Definitely, you can see the former soldier in her disposition. Oh, and right by her, sort of at the head of the table, you can see curled up probably a young wyvern, because it's smaller than the ones that were patrolling the city, but not by much. And it's kind of curled up with its head on her lap. And when she stands up, she kind of disturbs it, and it looks up at the group of you. This brown-scaled dragon-like creature. Yeah, and she calls out to the group of you. The Silver Seekers, I take it. We've been expecting you. Come, have a seat. We have much to discuss.
Thank you kindly. It's an honor to meet you, Governor, if I do say so myself.
She actually comes around the front of the table to kind of greet each of you as you come in. She doesn't really extend like a hand or anything like that, but as you come in, she kind of gives you a nod. I am Governor Nayassa, leader of this city. I believe that we have much to discuss, but I would like to make your acquaintance before we get started. What can I call each of you?
Well, I am Lady Elwyn Amelos, heir to House Amelos, minister of the Old Faith and shepherd of the Tundra. Pleased to make your acquaintance. And I do a very formal, like, every day of my life, I've been trained to do this kind of noble curtsy. Very poised, very clear.
Yeah, she gives kind of a slight bow. It's not very deep at all, but a slight bow of acknowledgement to that, and says, pleased to make your acquaintance. You'll forgive me if I didn't get all of that on the first try, but Lady Elwyn Emelos, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's all mine.
She looks to the rest of you.
Rook steps out of his armor and reaches a hand and says, Rook, nice to meet you. Nayassa.
She has a hard time taking her eyes off the armor as you do that. But she pulls them away and says, Rook, excellent. Much easier to remember. And she gives you a slight bow as well.
Okay.
Tuppence here.
I'm
What's wrong with Tuppence? She knows the
I'm
snake
pleased to make your
creature.
acquaintance, Tuppence.
I'm really nervous. I'm sorry.
Please, there's no need to be nervous on my account. I don't mind if you speak to me informally. In fact, I might prefer it.
Okay, thank you.
And then she turns to Embers.
I'm gonna stand.
She looks to
This is
Elwyn.
Embers. Embers of White Ash.
Yeah. She looks to the group of you for an introduction. Embers, very well. Well, you may remain standing if you wish. The rest of you, there are seats here prepared at the table. I prepared 4. I was not aware that one of you was so small.
Hey. I go and fly over on Embers.
As she says that, she actually shoots what was her name? Turka. Turka is one of the members in the room. She's not at the table. She's standing kind of behind and to the side. But she shoots Turka a look like, why didn't you mention that one of them was a tiny pixie? Because apparently Turka left that detail out.
Is the room we're in, is it like a long room, or is it like with like a long table, or like how does it like overlook like the city, or like what's kind of?
Yeah, there would be a big window in the back. You're at a room kind of in the back of the citadel,
Okay.
and there is a big window that overlooks the bay itself, so you can see ships coming and going from here. Um, and yeah, it's not a long room, but it is a big room, and this like large round table takes up a good chunk of it.
Okay.
Sorry, how many other people are in the room?
There's a few. There's several guards positioned at the entryway.
Potioned.
Yes, and pretty much at the ready. The important members in the room, you've seen that Turka is there, kind of standing in the back, and at the table there is. I'm jumping back and forth in my notes. There's an old dwarven woman who's wearing the kind of like royal blue and like silver robes of a priest of the platinum dragon. There is a so there's a imperial warden who also stood when the group of you entered the room, which is important because he very much looks like he has skipped leg day his entire life. He has these like short legs they're kind of like chicken legs, but he has this like huge upper torso, so he's very disproportionate. Like his upper body is massive, but his lower body is just tiny. And he has he's a human man. He's got gray hair that's kind of spiky, and it's like short on the sides and just shaved flat across the top, just like an even line. And
Just
then
ask him
also
to stay
you
at the
can
mill
see,
house with us.
you can also see situated next to him is Torin Brenwarm,
Oh,
who you
okay.
recognize.
Yep.
And then finally, there's a kobold in the room who you don't recognize, a male kobold. But this kobold is wearing very much like I mean, if I say like a king's robe, like from like any sort of cartoon or animation, like the big red fluffy one with like the white fur around the edges, that sort of thing. He's wearing that, and it's too big for him. And kind of like one of those roundish crowns on the top of his head that is also too big for him. And so many rings and necklaces and things like that. And he does not stand when you enter the room, but he is seated at a position close to Nayassa.
More rings than Rook.
Yes, because he has like multiple per finger.
Okay. Rook nods to that.
Nayassa. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, I will look around as I approach the table to sit down, and I will say, I don't believe we've met. Well, we've met you, Torin. Hi, nice to see you. Hello, everyone. If introductions are to be made,
yes. The broad chested man with the kind of flat grayish hair. He's the first to speak after that, and he says, let me find his title here. Warden Commander Nathaniel Locke. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Mr. Brenwarm here has told me all about your endeavors on behalf of the city. And he gives kind of a curt nod to the group of you. The kobold then speaks up and says, I get the voice. I am King Zikzik of the Dens. And that's all he says. But Nayassa picks up there and says, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the kobolds in the city, but they do have a ruler unto themselves. So King Zikzik is here to offer his advice and guidance on behalf of the kobolds that dwell within the city.
I want to keep that one.
What?
I said I want to keep that one. For
Invite
keeping
him
any
to the
of
mill
them.
house. And then yeah, finally, everyone, all of the NPCs sit down again.
Wait, the
Um,
dwarven woman didn't introduce herself.
Oh, you're right. She didn't. I forgot about her. She says, "Oh shoot, I don't have an old woman voice."
You can borrow mine.
Martina Barrelborn, High Priest of the Platinum Parish. It's a pleasure to meet you, Silver Seekers.
What's the Platinum Parish? Do you know what that is?
It's the big temple to Bahamut in the city,
Bahamut. Mhm.
Ooh, I see.
which is definitely like
Charmed, I'm sure.
the biggest religion within this city, at least.
Tuppence
All right.
will kind of wave to Turka.
She gives you a little wave back and then looks to make sure Nayassa didn't see. So, we have a great number of things to discuss. But first and foremost, I'd like to know everything that the group of you have learned during your investigation. Torin was able to fill us in on some details. Others I got from Turka. But I believe there might still be things that you know that the rest of us don't, which will inform our decisions here.
Rook produces the serpent skin notebook and places it on the table and says, "We've learned quite a deal from this notebook that we procured from one of the warehouses they were using."
Please, go on. Any
Okay.
information that you can offer will be of great aid in this
And
situation.
are there like aids around here that like so can you like hand it to somebody and they'll take it over to Nayassa?
Yeah, you could hand it to one of the guards or something if you basically just hold it up.
Yeah,
someone
so
will
he just
bring
kind of holds
around.
it up over his shoulder expectingly then
Mhm.
and
And
waits for
someone
someone to
comes
take
and
it.
rushes to your
Yeah.
side, takes it around to her.
Yeah, please. It's all in Dragonborn. Sorry, Draconic. What am I saying? It's all in Draconic. Sorry,
It's all in human.
It's all in yeah. I mean Elvish, yeah, you know. It's all in Draconic. But I can summarize it for you.
She takes a quick look at it and says, "It may be in Draconic, but it does appear to be in some sort of code. You were able to glean some information from this?"
Oh yes, quite a bit. And so
She looks to Torin and says, "You didn't mention that they were as clever as they are strong." And Torin kind of like slouches down in his chair a little bit.
Rook flashes
If-
a small smile.
Does she still have the air of like, you should have told me that, the way that she did with, with
Basically,
Turka?
Yeah. Should have told him they were intelligent.
I mean, from her perspective, like you guys are just kind of like a group of mercenaries, but she's now clearly
Yeah.
learning you're more than that. So
And Rook will just kind of smile and say, "Oh, this was a simple task for us." And then he goes and explains what he found. And do you want me to just summarize it,
oh, that's
or
okay.
I mean, there's a lot of
Just let me know
information.
if there's
So
any details you're leaving out.
I think. Let me see.
You can obviously like leave out things like Molo's involvement and stuff like that, but you've
Yeah, I wouldn't want to like implicate anybody that we don't want. But I think I would just taking it literally from the notes that I have in my, at least it's doesn't seem like incriminating for people that we like or whatever.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
pretty
it is.
just here's the time and date of the attack. Here's how why they're taking
Here's what
precautions
they're
for
after.
Nayassa, what they're after,
Mhm.
and so Rook kind of covers those bases.
Are we going to tell them about the theft of the dragon's breath and what it's planning to be used for?
I think
Or that
so.
there's still two of them missing?
Yeah.
Well, that much I got from Torin, but this information about what the Brotherhood is after, the details of how they plan to accomplish it, and well, frankly, the when and where of it all, that's all new to me. And that certainly informs what we should do next.
I agree.
She sits and thinks for a second and then says, the group of you have already done the city a great service, and I will see that you're rewarded. For the information that you've provided, the members of the Brotherhood that you managed to capture during the warehouse raid, and all of your efforts thus far, I think I can award the group of you a sum of 250 gold pieces, and I hope that sounds fair to you.
Rook
It's very
makes a little
generous.
face.
Thank you.
But I also want to roll insight.
Mhm.
Can I roll?
Yeah, me too.
I'd like to roll insight on the other people at the table when I produced the notebook and see
Ah, interesting.
see if anyone reacts to seeing the notebook.
Good idea.
It's not bad. That
You are
is
clever, Rook.
17. I don't have a high intelligence score for nothing.
So you're looking for reactions to the book being produced?
Yeah, if anyone looks like they either are surprised or like, I mean, maybe someone that has like a look of like familiarity they're trying to hide. They're like, oh no, if they've seen it before, they know about it, or like, basically someone who's in with this,
Okay. And
right?
you rolled a 17?
And when I start like describing what I found, yes, I did.
Okay. So when you initially produce the book, what's his name? Warden Commander, I've already lost his name. Nathaniel Locke.
Nathaniel Locke.
Looks like he starts to sweat a little bit, but as
Oh.
you describe the contents of the book, he looks like he's relieved.
That's interesting. That's not who I expected to have a reaction.
That's exactly who I expected to have a reaction.
Really? Oh shoot.
We talked about this, Rook.
Yeah, so basically,
I
like,
guess so.
as the book is produced, he reacts, but then as you describe, like, what you actually learned from it, which is basically like the date and time of the attack, what they were after, all of that, he looks like that takes a weight off of his shoulders. So make of that what you will.
Okay. No one else seems to be just listening. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they all react to the book being produced and your explanation of what you found, but like his is the one that is, I think, suspicious to you, basically.
Okay, thanks.
King Zixik eventually has Nayassa pass him the book and he starts looking through it and says, "Oh yes, our kobold code breakers could have made short work of this. I'm certain of it." As he just kind of leafs through. Also, we'll keep your insight check. With that, you think that he probably doesn't understand the code as he's leafing through.
I didn't even need insight for that, but thanks.
Nayassa then
Was
basically
Elwin gonna make one too?
Oh, right.
Yeah. I just was gonna watch Nayassa
Mhm.
and just kind of get a read on her and her reaction to everything and
She seems to yeah, what did you roll?
I haven't rolled.
I was just
gonna
about
see
to
what
start
you were gonna
giving
give
you
me.
information. So.
I rolled a natural 20.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So that's a 25 total.
So you can basically see the gears turning in her head with each bit of information that Rook describes. It is changing the mental chess scenario that she is running through as she tries to decide the best course of action for this moment. It looks like she is basically absorbing all of the information and analytically trying to figure out what to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So she, after she says this sum of money that she can provide to you, she basically like waves over another one of the attendants and has them run off to presumably prepare this amount of money for the group of you. But then she goes on and says, The question now is what to do next. I have some ideas in mind. But the group of you have had your fingers on the pulse of this for, well, you've had closer involvement with this case. And I'd be curious to know what the group of you think before I give my opinions.
For just the generally speaking?
She seems to be directing this mostly to the group of you.
I mean, just like on the next steps, or just like,
Yeah, sort of like
Okay.
next steps, or what the best thing to do in this situation is.
um, well, if I may, then I think that you should try and keep yourself safe. You're clearly a target in this operation.
This is true, but I don't think I have the luxury of doing that.
I mean,
Not
surely
when
after uncovering this plan, we have some advantage or upper hand, I would
she
think.
nods and says, I think we do. The advantage that we have is we have the time to react in a way that protects the citizens. And I don't think I have the luxury of standing still in order to do so.
Fair enough. I think what I would try and do with our remaining time is potentially raid other warehouses that might have these creatures.
She nods and says, I had this thought as well. And then she turns to the warden commander and says, Commander Locke, surely the wardens have some information on at least a few known Brotherhood warehouses and storage facilities within the city. Can I count on you to procure the necessary bodies to begin raids on these warehouses and uncover as much as we can? And he kind of stands up, salutes, and says, Of course, it would be my honor,
Insight check.
Governor. Yeah, okay, roll an
Yeah.
insight check.
Anytime that guy speaks, you can expect me to roll an insight
Yeah.
check.
It's fair.
I got a whopping 3. Got a
Whopping
natural
three.
1.
He's Rook's rolling 1 too.
Sorry, I got an 18.
18. Yeah, Embers, he's got a lot of energy behind his words and his salute. You're watching him closely, but he's kind of turned away from you at the position he is. You might need to readjust yourself if you want to watch him closely.
What a suspicious thing to do.
Rook, what did you say? 18?
18?
Yes. So he seems like, from what you can tell, he seems honest in his intention to do what Governor Nayassa is asking of him. You can see he's thinking something too in the back of his head, though. Like you could tell there's something else going on in his mind as he is taking in these orders.
So I think Rook will respond and say, Commander Locke, since we're all here, could you, maybe since the Silver Seekers have already looked through one warehouse, potentially there's another one we can investigate as well. Do you have that information on hand?
No, unfortunately, I do not have that information on hand. I'd have to return to headquarters and dig through some of our files, and get some resources working on that. However, the Dragontooth Brotherhood is a known factor within the city. This is certainly outside of their general wheelhouse, but we do have some information on them that we've gathered over the years, and I believe that we can put it to use to maybe track down at least one or two more of these facilities.
Embers is going to tap Elwyn on the shoulder and point over at Turka.
Oh, right. What were we gonna ask her again?
About
Been a night, you guys.
possible warehouses that we might start with your locate object.
About warehouses. I will just kind of pat pat Embers' hand and kind of mouth later to her. Like, we'll talk to her later.
Embers nods.
Mm.
Um, so I'm gonna roll an insight check on Embers really quick from Torin
Sure.
because he's watching all of this happening.
Let me roll my deception check real quick.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess what I rolled on this deception check?
0.
Oh no.
Worse.
What?
I rolled a -1.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I don't think Torin can roll that poorly on insight, but we'll give it a try. Well, he got a 6. So but basically what I'm trying to figure out from Torin's perspective is is it obvious that Embers is kind of is she making obvious signs like narrowing her eyes that she's suspicious of the commander?
Oh yeah, like extremely.
Okay. Then Torin kind of makes eye contact with the group of you. And you can see that he's kind of shifting in his chair as if he's thinking about saying something.
So Rook will he will pull off one of his rings and he will whisper something into the ring and then he'll hold it up for one of the attendants.
Yeah, one of them comes over quickly.
And then he points over to Torin and say, and then he'll just say, take it over to him, please.
Okay, the attendant does. But Nayassa says, Mr. Rook, might I ask what you're doing?
Well, I'm just giving Torin a ring.
She definitely kind of narrows her eyes at that. I see. The aide takes the ring over to Torin and gives it to him. What happens then?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Yeah, Torin kind of holds onto the ring and looks across the table at you, like, confused. But then Nayassa goes on and says, right, well, having the wardens raid any known warehouses is one thing that I had been thinking of, but it's certainly not the most pressing matter. If the Brotherhood intends to unleash these monstrosities on the city, we need to be thinking about what we can do to protect the citizens. And she turns to King Zixik and says, King Zixik, this is where I would hope to gain your cooperation and the cooperation of the kobolds. One of the reasons that I've chosen Turka as a spy of mine amongst the Dragontooth Brotherhood, and she's kind of explaining this to the group here, is because I find that kobolds are often overlooked within the city. They're small, and that's one thing, but people tend to take them for granted, and so they can, well, slip under the radar when a taller creature might be noticed. It's my assumption, and granted this could be incorrect, but I don't believe the Brotherhood will be targeting the dens in their attacks. I believe that they'll be underestimating the kobolds and the impact they can have, or otherwise overestimating the amount of kobolds that follow in their path. King Zixik, I would like to... shoot, I can't think of the word. What's the word? This is Ethan struggling for the word, not her. Right, evacuate. I would like to evacuate as many citizens as I can to the dens and the tunnels beneath the dens temporarily until these monstrosities have been dealt with. What do you think? And King Zixik kind of like strokes his snout. I see. Well, it's something we could certainly consider, But the dens are, of course, they are the homes of the kobolds. We would certainly need some sort of words are really compensation. There we go. I'm really struggling with words tonight, guys. Compensation for our efforts in the aid of the city. And Nayassa kind of gives a nod and says, "Certainly, of course, I wouldn't dream of asking for your help without offering a reward for your efforts. However, I can't begin to deign what sort of things one such as yourself might require, King Zigzig." And he kind of strokes his snout a little bit more and says, well, if we could expand the dens, say, 10 yards in each direction, that would certainly be a great assist to my people. And they basically get in this negotiation of like what that Nayassa can offer to King Zigzig. And they come to an agreement, and finally King Zigzig says, "Very well. Yes.
Can I have a quiet conversation with Tuppence while this is happening?
Yeah, of
I also
course.
want to do something, but
This
go
is a
ahead.
good time for it."
Yeah, I'll kind of like do the come here motion with my finger to Tuppence, who was sitting on Embers' shoulder, and have her come over, tap my shoulder, and I'll just kind of whisper to her, Embers and I have something we want to talk to Turka about when this is over. If you could get her attention for us, maybe
Sure thing.
go whisper in her ear, let her know to hang around when this is done.
Sure thing. Is
Thanks.
is Turka by that Drake?
The wyvern, you mean?
I mean the wyvern, yeah.
She is not necessarily right next to it. She's kind of back a little ways in one of the corners of the room.
Okay, well, I'll fly over and kind of pretend to be looking at the wyvern for a little bit, seeing if it's friendly.
Okay. So I mean, the wyvern is like right by Nayassa, and so she kind of clocks you coming around, sees you going to like play with the wyvern, and doesn't stop you. The wyvern kind of snaps at you a little bit, but it doesn't do so in like a angry way. It seems a little playful, I guess.
Okay, so I'll make my way over to land beside Turka, kind of trying to be unobtrusive.
Okay. Why don't you make like a stealth check to just, kind of do this without being noticed by too many people?
I mean, the brownie smell is going to be a dead giveaway, right?
Well, I rolled 18 on die, so.
It's really good.
Never mind.
Did you say deception?
Stealth.
Stealth. Okay, I'm good at that too. So it's a 21.
Okay, yeah. You think most people in the room don't pay too much attention to you as you zoom over to Turka.
Perks of actually being small.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I see nobody's looking, I'll convey the message.
Right. Okay. If you stay after the rest of these people leave, perhaps you, me, and Nayassa can have a conversation. Just the group
Sounds
of
great.
us.
Okay.
Yep. And then Rookie, we're gonna do something.
Yeah, I was going to, while they're busy with negotiations, play the message for Torin.
Oh, okay.
And it says, find us later and we'll talk.
Okay. Yeah. As the whisper kind of plays in his ears, you can see he seems surprised. But kind of looks in your direction and gives you a little bit of a nod.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to roll an insight check on Nathaniel Locke just to see what he's doing during this negotiation.
Okay.
Embers' eyes are just boring a hole in this guy throughout the entire thing that's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 10.
He is now leafing through this journal, but with
Mhm.
kind of like glazed eyes. You think he's probably not understanding anything he's looking at as he looks through the journal.
Okay.
The notebook that I was passing around, or
Yeah.
something else? Okay.
It's made its way over to the warden commander, but he doesn't seem to be able to understand anything that he's reading.
I don't want to like keep doing insight checks, but I'm also curious when people start reading it if they look like they can understand it and if they
Mm.
Like what their reactions are.
Zixik, Zixik,
Well,
you
yeah,
can tell that
he's
he like read the Draconic but couldn't understand the cipher. Same deal with Nayassa. And now it's made its way to the Warden Commander, but he doesn't seem to be able to understand it at all.
not the dwarf woman, Martina.
She hasn't quite taken a turn
Okay.
at it, and she's mostly been quiet through all of this because this is kind of doesn't have too much to do with her yet.
Yeah, why
Mhm.
is she here?
Yeah, I was wondering. That's why I'm like curious about her now. I'm like,
Same.
she's been really
Good
quiet.
question.
Hmm.
Well, after Zixik and Nayassa come to a agreement, it might become obvious why she is here, because Nayassa then says, right, that settles that. The next thing I need to do is get word to Kalea. And the group of you can roll history checks if you want to know who Kalea is.
Sure.
Rook, you don't have to roll,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
I got a 19.
I got a 10.
I'm like looking through my backstory now. Like I don't remember this name in my backstory.
It's not in there, but you would know.
Okay, cool.
How did Tuppence do?
Tuppence got a 11.
11. Okay. All of you got 10 or above, so I think all of you know. Kalea Bergcrusher is the name of the legate of Sergil, which is the state that you're in. So she's basically Nyassa's superior. Right. So Nyassa goes on and says, but Rook, the thing that I would say to you, the reason you don't have to roll, is because this is a person who was present on that day 5 years ago in a certain public event that you witnessed.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yep. She would have been there.
Was she
when being
there
introduced.
as like just a witness, like just someone who's like looking on, or
she didn't do the thing.
okay, yeah.
But she was sort of in a position she was definitely up on the platform when this was happening.
Oh shoot!
What a
Oh,
great
shoot.
conversation over
I know.
here.
All the players
Yeah.
roll in their
I'm
eyes.
watching you guys. Okay, sorry. We
All
should-
of
we
us
prob-
are just like,
I guess we had done
so
that
tired of the
Um,
vagueness.
private messages. All right, I'll stop.
And anyone who rolled above a 15 plus Rook would also know that she is a Draco Spear who rides a white dragon named Krylide. So Nyassa says, we need to get word to Kalea and see if we can request her help.
I have a question. So you're implying I know her by name, right?
By name, yes.
Okay. So I think when Rook hears that name, he probably like ever so slightly tenses up.
Yeah. And you feel a sense of anger well up within you, and you're not 100% sure the anger fully belongs to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's mutual, buddy.
I will sense that because I rolled a 15 on insight
For me?
for Rook.
Mm.
I assume I sense that
Let me see.
tensing.
Let's roll deception.
I love that it's all deception and insight.
Yeah, I know
going
this is
around.
fun. I got a 13.
Insight
So
party.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can definitely see Rook sort of like
He prickles a bit.
yeah, he
Yeah.
kind of like tenses a little bit with his shoulders and then like relaxes.
I will look at the governor and say, I apologize. I'm not around these parts, but is there a benefit to getting someone so high up involved at this point? Are you sure it wouldn't make things worse?
If the threat is as dire as I suspect it is, I see no benefit to avoiding getting Kalea involved. She was only here recently. It's too late to get a messenger drake to her, but, and she kind of looks over to the dwarven woman, I do know that the priests of Bahamut, some of them are capable of prayers that can be carried a great distance. Magic that can carry messages. And the dwarven woman kind of nods and says, Yes, we could arrange for a message to be sent to Kalea, if it is your wish, Governor. And Nayassa says, good. Then yes, please get a message to Kalea and see if she can turn around and make her way back to the city. And then the old dwarven woman actually stands up and will go to leave after confirming that Nayassa doesn't need her around anymore. Um, and then Nayassa turns back to the group of you and says, right, finally, the last thing that I can think of to prepare for this is to secure as many warriors, mercenaries, essentially as much assistance as we can in the events that are about to unfold. Torin here vouches for you. And you've certainly done well to bring all of this to my attention thus far. I think we must combat this threat on two fronts. Someone has to be there to stop the caravan raid from occurring. And some group of individuals with significant power need to remain within the city to protect it from what is to unfold here. I would be willing to pay you an additional 250 gold pieces to take on either of those roles. Protect the city while I fly on Zoe, and she gestures to her wyvern here, and take a contingent of wyvern knights to stop the caravan raid. Or the group of you travel north of here and stop the caravan raid yourselves, while I and my wyvern knights stay within the city to protect it. What do you think?
I think we have a lot to talk about.
Certainly.
I think also, isn't there, given the travel distance, isn't there somewhat maybe enough time to have a messenger go and have the caravan change directions or go somewhere else or be fortified in some way?
I believe that's a possibility. We can certainly send a messenger Drake. My fear, though, is if they're watching my movements, like you seem to imply they are, it's possible messenger Drakes won't get out.
What about your wyvern knights? And he gestures like upwards where they were on patrol.
Again, a greater possibility, and certainly worth trying, but it's also possible they'll be intercepted. I believe that's certainly a solid plan, but we need to prepare for the possibility that none of our attempts to warn the outpost will make it through.
What?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I know I'm this is getting old hat at this point, but I actually have a reason this time for wanting to roll an insight check on Nathaniel. What was his reaction to hearing that Kalea was being called?
Okay.
Oh, that's a good point. I was too upset.
Like 11.
Um,
I just cannot roll today.
it seems like you can see like when Kalea's name is mentioned, it's not hard to see like a flash of respect in his eyes. Like he kind of straightens up a bit. It seems like he has a good opinion of her and is eager for this news, I suppose. That much isn't hard to see.
Okay.
So, well, why don't, I mean, if we trust the information we have in front of us and we want to act on it, if we make this presence known that the city is ready to combat the threat, wouldn't that be potentially enough of a deterrence for them to maybe not even try and enact their scheme?
Potentially. And if that's the case, then I'm happy for it. But it's also possible that it won't be. So I think we need to prepare for that
Sure.
possibility.
Well, and it's also possible that if we do let our hands slip and they find out that we know what we know, they're going to change their plans and give us the slip.
This
I
journal
mean,
was encoded, so it's possible they have no reason to suspect we know as much as we do. I'm hopeful about that.
But the warehouse that they were keeping those creatures in has been compromised and the journal has been taken.
She nods and says, "Yes, at least one of their warehouses have, but we have no idea, no way of knowing how big their actual operation is within the city and how many of these creatures they intend to let loose."
My
We
point is,
recovered a
our
few, but-
actions have not been very secret, if you don't mind me saying so. They know we're onto them, and that makes people stupid. That makes them reckless
This is
and
true.
dangerous.
Do you have a proposal, a suggestion based
I
on
don't think we
that?
should wait. I think we should do everything we can to cut their limbs off before they have a chance to act.
yeah, I agree.
That means trying to get that caravan to go back, change course, find a way to do that. If that means finding their warehouses now and getting rid of those monsters, securing all of their weapons now, we have to do that now. We don't wait for them to attack and hope for the best.
Yeah, she nods in agreement as you're saying all of this and says, "Yes, this is why I have Commander Luck preparing to raid the warehouses as soon as he is able to return to the barracks."
And all due
And-
respect, Governor, but I'm sure that your wardens are very, very capable, but it is quite a strong show of force to send them in there instead of doing something a little bit more discreet like. We've already tipped our hand this much.
So you believe we should not send the wardens in to raid any of these warehouses and should instead what?
Well, do you have any sneaky likes? Anybody, any spies, a network of spies or something that you can rely on to get in there
ha-
quiet?
I have a few spies like Turka, and she nods over in Turka's direction, but the majority of them aren't fighters. They might
Well,
be
if they're
able
good
to.
enough, maybe they don't need to.
They could perhaps infiltrate some of these warehouses, the ones that we know about, but what would they do once they were there?
Relay information back.
Tuppence
Numbers.
kind of
Oh.
shyly raises her hand, like, I'm a good spy.
Well, I mean, at least we know which warehouses contain what creatures, assuming there's more. And then we can, because I mean, it's not like they can transport them away easily. So at that point, we can create, some loose fortifications or something, or preparations for when they're unleashed, or if we have time, deal with it ourselves, like the other warehouse.
I think all of this is a very good plan in theory, but we are pressed for time. If this attack is going to happen on the 19th, that is tomorrow. It could be as soon as midnight. We need to rush, and we don't have time for a surgical operation as far as I'm concerned. If the group of you want to work with the wardens to tackle one or two of these warehouses yourselves in a more surgical manner, by all means, and we can certainly reflect that in your compensation. I just need to plan for the worst case scenario.
I understand.
It's your call.
I will think about it. The group of you, please take some time to think about my proposal. I need to begin coordinating the evacuations to the dens. That takes priority. So I will go to make those preparations. I will have a private room prepared for the group of you where you may speak amongst yourselves. And then perhaps we reconvene afterwards. Does that sound good?
You're very generous. Thank you.
It's the least I can do. I very much appreciate all of the work that you've done up to this point, and I believe that with your aid, we can get through this. Right. And she stands up. Meeting adjourned. You all have, and she looks to the warden commander and Torin, as well as to Zixik. You all know what we need to do. Let's get to it. And I think that's a good place to end tonight's episode.
Okay.
Right. All right. So thank you to you guys for playing. That was a lot of insight checks and perception checks. And stuff.
Woo,
Yeah.
that was a tense meeting.
Yep.
Oh.
And thank you to anyone who came around to watch. We'll be back with more of this Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Things are going to get intense soon, I think. So hope to see you then. Thanks
Yep.
for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.